Hey everybody, welcome back to the XL podcast. My name's Graham Brown, your host for the next 35 minutes. Big part of leadership today is understanding how to grow a business in this increasingly complex technological environment. We all have to know a bit of everything, and today our subject of discussion is no different. We're going to look at the business of retention. They say retention is the new acquisition. Now, anybody who's grown a successful business will know that the best source of new business, new revenues is old customers. And whilst we know that old customers, existing customers are profitable, often we find ourselves constantly trying to fill the fire hose with new customers. And yet maybe there's something missing there that we can understand that process better, whether you are building CX programs for existing customers, or you're looking at the upsell, monetizing, unleashing the value of your existing customer base. There's a lot to learn, and the great thing is there's a lot of advice out there. So to help us understand this world better, I'm joined by Ed Frame from Exemplify. Ed, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Graham.
It's great. To start with, something I noticed that you posted on LinkedIn that made me chuckle about customer reference numbers.
Oh gosh, so, yeah.
It's funny, isn't it, that companies invest millions in all kinds of CX programs, CRM programs, customer service programs. And yet we still seem to be in this era where companies are asking you for the customer reference number without naming names, who the company was. What's going on? Why are we still there? That seems a bit crazy, doesn't it? Given that seems to me a basic. So first of all, maybe help us understand why that's not a good idea for building a relationship with a customer, but also why we're there.
Great. So it's beyond me that why we are still there at the moment. Essentially, there's two things that a customer reference number does. The first thing is to actually remember. No one ever remembers their customer reference number, right? So if you call me up and you ask me to repeat my customer reference number to you, the first thing I have to do is go into my emails, search your company name, scroll through all the emails that you've sent me, all the marketing emails that you've sent me that I've never opened before, to then try and find that email, which is a 16-digit number that I'll never remember. And then I quote it back to you. And that's, and then that's it for the next couple of years before we need to do it again. And the second thing, which is really surprising, is in a world where we've got CRMs such as Salesforce and HubSpot, it's not like they use a string of numbers as a unique identifier. No, they're using email addresses to be a unique identifier. So if you fill out a website form on the website and it goes into HubSpot, and you do some other interaction elsewhere that goes into the same portal, it's the email address which is the unique identifier. And Graham, I don't know about you, but I have no problem remembering my own email address.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I do have a problem remembering all the different customer reference numbers that I've come
I can remember other people's email addresses pretty well as well. Seems to be because it's meaningful. It's semantic, isn't it? It's got, if I see ed at exemplify.com.au, for example, it's much more meaningful than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Exactly that. And the one thing that we all have in common that we all care about is our own first name. If you're listening to a presentation and somebody mentions your name, it's just that you're immediately into it. If somebody calls your name on the street, you immediately perk up. And there is something that's, whenever we're in a world where companies are not calling us by our first names or using things that are personal to us, it means that we really feel that we are treated more as a string of numbers rather than a human being. So there is also a psychological aspect of customer reference numbers that really take away from building a meaningful relationship with a company.
It may be in part just more convenient for the programmer to build that by using, a unique ID. But at the same time, there may be more interesting dynamics at play, like you talk about the psychological factor, that maybe it helps people deal with people en masse without being personal, which is not necessarily the best for experience, but it may be easier to manage people. And we're not in the business of managing people, but that may help when you're
Yeah.
dealing with customers en masse. But we'll get into that, the more of the psychology as well, hopefully today, and you help us understand where we need to be with that, what position and what place we need to be when dealing with customers as well. But I guess maybe we can start by putting this all on the table, Ed, is fans, customer advocacy, customer experience, relatively new words in the sort of, the conversations of marketing and salespeople and business generally. Where does this fit in? Is this marketing? Is it sales? Is it customer experience? Is it customer service?
You know
What
what?
part of businesses does it have a department?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and actually something that I first started doing was, when I first started Exemplify, I was talking about customer experiences, and really depending on who I spoke to, that either had a great effect or no effect whatsoever. And so what I found it was that some people, you then had to explain what a customer experience was. And it's like, oh, it's the experience a customer has with your business, and you kind of run down this rabbit hole. And for some people, they know exactly what a customer experience is, and some people have no idea and just take a lot of these things for granted. So essentially, what I started just saying is that I help turn customers into repeat customers, brand advocates, and referral partners, just to make it really, really simple to understand. It's like, okay, all those customers you get, yeah, I make sure that they keep buying from you, or that they're a part of your subscription for much longer.
So if I was in sales, I'm getting mixed messages now. I like the bit about more sales and more revenue, but existing customers, are they in sales? Maybe in the more traditional companies, this might be a bit of a bit of dissonance. Like, well, I don't understand where this fits in. Generally, where does that fit in with companies? Does it fall into the marketing department? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I actually feel it really sits really in. We're starting to see a lot more companies have customer success personnel to really help with, marketing brings the leads, then brings the sales team close those leads, and now we have really customer success to try and make the experience fantastic for those customers that have been onboarded. And it really does sit in that customer success piece, but also in the marketing piece. We have a lot more, marketing teams are now a lot more equipped with, especially in the e-commerce space, to try and essentially re-nurture some of the sales that have happened before. So if you've bought something from a website, it is really down to the marketing team to try and use automation and different techniques to help you buy more of those particular products. So I'd say it does fit within the marketing, the sales, and the service. But from what I'm finding, I'm dealing mostly with marketing managers and marketing directors and customer success leaders and CEOs.
Great. I guess the people that know, they are the ones that understand that this cuts across probably multiple departments, doesn't it? Just by the way, before we get deeper into the data side, I know data is a big part of what you do. You do offer a lot of content as well. So if people are interested in this, Ed's got a lot of content on your website. There's masterclasses, workshops, videos, all about the process, turning buyers into advocates and turning customers into repeat buyers as well. There's a lot of content out there. So we'll come to that. If people are sort of at that stage thinking, all right, does this speak to me? Is this what I need to focus on? There's a lot of sort of introductory content that people can go and get access to there as well. So just shouting out to those that may be interested to learn more, go and fill your boots with Ed's content. We'll put the links at the end of the show. But for those who are kind of exploring this area, maybe we can start with the data as well, because it's interesting that we've known about the value of repeat customers and existing customers for some time. It's not new, is it? I mean, the data's been out there, but there's a lot of interesting research that keeps coming out. I mean, the HubSpots and the Salesforces obviously publishing a lot of data about the value of customer experience, repeat customers, customer advocacy, and so on. I want to go through some of these data points, Ed, and I would like your expert opinion on what they mean and why these are important. So I'm going to throw out some data points and then just share with us your analysis of them. Let's start with HubSpot. obviously HubSpot are one of the sort of leading lights when it comes to repeat customers and the whole sort of post-sale experience as well. HubSpot Research said 55% of growing companies think it's very important to invest in customer service programs. Now, I want to ask about this one, customer service programs. That has a kind of a connotation to, doesn't it? Customer service is, if you go back a generation, that was a certain type of department in the business. But has customer service changed as a function from sort of being, like dealing with complaints to what it is now? How's that evolved?
It's a good question. It depends really who you ask and what happens when you need to speak to your company and you ring that number, and it really depends on who you go to. Do you go to, if you're, I won't name them, but I had to fly with a very big Australian airline. and
that narrows it down, folks.
Yes, that narrows it down. So they've cracked the code. And yeah, you've got something to change, and you end up being on a call, and then you're pushed through to this team of a big bunch of people who are there to help out with your request. And that's very much seen as the customer service. But we're also seeing, as I mentioned before, customer success, people being appointed within a particular business to really be that person to take you from, okay, you've just made a purchase, through to, we're going to actually help you achieve the main problems of why you've made this purchase. So whether mostly in the sort of service-based industries of, if you've signed up and you need, performance marketing, having a customer success manager is a great way to be able to then help you achieve those goals, help you get the most out of your investment with that company. So kind of two different ways to approach, but businesses can be very different on whether it's customer success, customer service, but really it should be anybody who is in that post-purchase side really needs to be doing a couple of things. They need to be making sure that customers are getting what they paid for, getting the best experience with the brand, getting the most out of the product or service, and essentially, any issues that they have are easily resolvable. And 5, being able to actually have such a good experience that they share and refer the business to other people.
In that experience that you had with that Australian airline, what were you doing? Were you trying to change something, or what was your request at that time?
So I don't know how much detail I should go into, but essentially my wife had actually had COVID about 10 days prior to us flying, and still tested positive with our 24-hour rat test. So we had to just change the flight. So, 24 hours until our flight, where, as you can tell from my accent, Northern Irish, we're in the middle of Northern Ireland, trying to get on a flight, and essentially having to change that. And it took about 9 hours of being on hold, being on the phone to get that changed. And it only got changed about 7 hours until the flight was actually due to depart.
Wow, that's a very negative experience at the time, isn't it?
Oh,
you especially at that time, you're heightened tension. You just want somebody to have a bit of empathy, don't you? And
absolutely.
just say, but that doesn't, even though empathy comes naturally to us, you need to create systems for that, whether it be, all right, Ed, I understand this isn't necessarily in my workflow of decisions here with customer journey or dealing with your issue, but I'm a human being, you're a human being, I can see what you're trying to do, let me see if I can fix this for you. So there's that guy that you want to be on the other end that so rarely is on the other end. And then also, with business, looking at that ongoing journey that you have as a customer, that, okay, this is what you signed up for, and we haven't quite achieved that goal, but I'm going to work with you, and I really need to understand you. I need to understand what your goals are, and they're not dissimilar, are they? It's like, I want to really kind of see things from your perspective, and rather than say, well, you signed up for this product and you're not using it, well, that's just because the customer's lazy or they're too busy. It's no, maybe they don't understand something, and I don't see it from their perspective. There's a lot of work, isn't it, from seeing that challenge, whether it be I'm stuck in Northern Ireland, adverse circumstances, or I'm a client customer not using the product or could be using the product so much more effectively. We need to think of it from that perspective, walk in their shoes a bit. But I guess my follow-up question is, who actually gets that right? Who are the brands that you look to and say, okay, we're specifically talking about post-sale experience here? Could you name some brands? I know you can't name the bad ones. We've all experienced the bad ones, right? But who are the really shining lights in this space that you think, wow, those guys really get it right?
That's a great question. So essentially, like one of the really the main ones and the big case study is Zappos. And Tony Shea, the former CEO of Zappos, he said, by taking most of the money that we would have spent on paid advertising and investing it into the customer experience instead, our customers ended up doing the marketing for us. And so that is really the ethos of being able to, instead of just putting all the money into paid advertising and flights and coming back to the flight is a very good example of this. I've already paid for my ticket. The money's gone. It's left me kind of, I'm already a customer, but I haven't actually achieved the goal of getting from, Belfast City Airport all the way through to Melbourne. That still hasn't happened. So until I've actually achieved that goal, that's actually something that's, I'm never going to fly with you if I don't achieve that goal. And so it's the experience of actually what happens after I pay to, do I actually achieve the goal? And if it's a really friction-filled experience and an experience that I never want to do again, well, I'm going to choose to fly with somebody else, or I'm going to choose a competitor, because eventually, even if I achieve the goal, or if you don't actually end up helping me solve my problems, then I'm actually never going to buy from you again. It's going to go down as a lesson, and it's going to go down as like, okay, we don't trust that company. Let's try somebody else next time.
Well, we'll look at the economics of that in a minute, because that absolutely adds up in terms of the bottom line.
Yeah.
I really like your way of putting it, is that the customer's goal, and I guess the company's goal, often aren't aligned, are they? That the company's goal may be drive revenue, sell tickets, fill these planes, everybody.
Yep.
That's how we're going to make our money. But the customer has this goal of, I've got to get from Belfast to Melbourne.
Yeah.
And you got my money, folks, but I haven't moved. I haven't moved a yard since we last spoke. And that's kind of where the friction is, isn't it? The internal conflict of interest between a company that is focused only on acquisition to a company that's focused on that long-term nurturing of their customers. And Zappos, to some degree, like you say, is we're going to take some of that acquisition budget and put it into experience, and that's faith in the long term, which requires a long-term vision, isn't it? Because everything for a CEO is next quarter, next quarter, next quarter. Absolutely. But then you need somebody to say, actually, maybe we might lose on you in the short term because we're investing. That's how investing works, right? Yeah. But in the long term, you're going to pay that back many, many times over. And let's have a look at some of the data. Bain, the consultancy, Bain Company found that a 5% increase in retention rate led to a rise in profit between 25 and 95%. That's massive. Just a small increase in retention. And we're not just talking about retention, are we? We're also talking about maximizing the value out of an existing customer. Retention obviously is a big part of it, like you say with your airline example. Here's the one from Salesforce, or I guess the other part of that is 89% of consumers are more likely to make another purchase after a positive customer service experience.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that we know the data has been out there for some time. What is the gap between knowing this and action?
Yeah, huge. So going back to actually one of the things that you mentioned just before that was, each quarter it's getting sales, it's getting growth, it's getting, profitability, it's getting sales and revenue through the door is really what we kind of plan to really see from every company quarter to quarter. But what we see is whenever sales plateau, whenever sales dry up, the first thing that happens is money's invested back into the sales funnel. We must get more customers. We must get new customers to experience our product and service so that we can keep selling them. And there's so many businesses out there who are now sustaining their business by having to spend on ads. If they stop spending on ads, their business wouldn't work. And so it's a case of, instead of actually using paid media and marketing to grow the business, we're actually using paid media and marketing to sustain the business, which is incredibly dangerous. So back to your points of 5% growth to increase to 25% of 95% of profits. The reason why that's so big is because if, like you said in the second statistic, if people are having a positive experience, then they're more likely to buy more. So your one sale goes to at least two. And then what might happen is, if that person then has a great experience and an experience so good that they really become an advocate and they start referring you business, then that's, not only is that person bought another product, they've also referred you another customer who's then bought another product, who's going to buy you another product, who's then going to refer you. And it's just the return on investment from one person who just has become so in sync with the brand and loves the brand so much and is just getting such a good experience that they don't shut up about how good this business is, just really becomes this overflowing machine in terms of new customers who have come through word of mouth, but also repeat purchase.
The advocacy part is really interesting, isn't it? That increasingly that's becoming an important part of the whole mix because of the economics. I don't know the exact numbers, but the cost of acquiring a customer today compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we only know it's going up.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder, isn't it? That you can't just run an ad in the newspaper anymore or even on radio and get customers. The fact is it's extremely competitive. I saw some interesting data talking about airlines, is that it would be it'd be cheaper or more cost effective for a fintech company, so maybe they're selling, like robo advisory, or maybe they're selling insurance, whatever it is. A fintech company, it would be cheaper for them to acquire an airline than it would be to acquire those customers from scratch, because obviously an airline has a lot of customers and a loyalty program, right?
Yeah.
So for them to acquire, and in many ways, airlines aren't very good at monetizing their existing customers, as we've seen, right? Apart from these sort of loyalty programs that they run. So they could acquire that airline, get all the customers, and that would be, I know it's a lot of money, but if they wanted to build up a customer base of, let's say, 5 million, 10 million, that is a lot of money to spend. Where actually, that shows how expensive it is to acquire customers now. And once you have those customers, if you can get that customer acquiring people for you for free, not only is that all straight to the bottom line, but also they're highly aligned customers, aren't they? So when people come in referred from friends, they're already educated about what you do. But I would then ask you about, does that actually work? Do people actually say, yeah, you should fly with this airline? And then people say, oh yeah, okay, that's good. Does that actually happen? Or is it a specific type of companies? Because I'm sure people are listening going, well, that's fine, but I'm an airline. It doesn't happen in my world.
That's a great question. I would say there's two things, a bit like the people who actually reviews restaurants. No one's really reviewing the meal on a 3-star. If they've had a mediocre experience, the need to actually leave a review is really low. But if you've had a fantastic experience and you're passionate about food, and you're passionate about this business, and you formed a relationship with the business owner, there's going on what is it, Zomato nowadays is high incentive. As for if it's been a terrible experience and you essentially want to voice your opinion, that's also a way to leave that review. So people really find that you talk about the great experience and the bad experiences, but there's a thing of, it's not just the experience, it's talking to people who have the same problems. And this is really where it comes down to of there are some purchases that I've made where the problem has just been so huge. So actually, I would even say the best $500 I've ever spent was on a sleep consultant. Our our baby at the time wasn't sleeping, and we ended up buying a 2-week phone call with a sleep consultant. Best 500 one night, full night of sleep. I've never.
That's worth a lot more than 500.
Exactly, and the amount of and I find like anytime I'm talking to somebody and I ask, oh, how old's your baby? If they're starting to say, somewhere between 6 and 9 months, is that great? Well, I'm about to refer you something pretty cool. And so, if they say, oh, we're just not sleeping, or she's not napping, or he's struggling to sleep, it's like, great. Well, I've got the best $500 that I've ever spent. This is their number. Give them a call. And I'm just saying this, and it was through my work that I did. I haven't actually got the company in front of me to say who it is, but maybe that's something we can put a little link in the brackets there if somebody's really.
But it's not an affiliate as well. That's the thing. You don't have to be an affiliate to do that, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to be financially incentivized to do it, right?
Exactly. And it's because the problem of no sleep was so severe, and any parent listening to this can really understand of just how terrible it is. And you just that pain point was so big that then somebody that you really care about is sharing their same problem with you, that you're then empathizing that I don't want you to go through that. That was terrible. I don't want you to have that experience. And so what I find is we seem to really share and refer based off, do I want the person that I'm talking with to have the same experience? And whether it's to live with this problem or to have this solution. So if you're a business that really solves a problem for somebody, like all businesses really do to some extent, that's where the sharing and referring really comes into.
Yeah, there's a natural tendency as well, human beings, to want to help other people, which sometimes when we get in the business world, we build these barriers, don't they? And those could be policy manuals, or it could be, like scripts for talking to people. And yet, if I see somebody suffering, whether that be somebody who's stuck in Belfast trying to get out, or somebody who's not getting any sleep, I want to help that person. And that could be, this is my job, or I'm just want to help this person that I know, maybe a coworker or whatever. And that's our natural disposition, isn't it? That we empathize with people, we want to help them. So we have to kind of have these environments and cultures. And I guess this is where it comes down to where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, is that, you've got to have systems in place to make that happen. You've got to have these to make people more human and interact with other people. You've got to kind of also create these automations and workflows. And there has to be a whole lot of data in there, which you don't necessarily see. Not data at the front end. Like, Belfast talking to a bot, or a bot's telling me about sleep problems. That's not going to be it. It's got to be on the other side as well. So let's maybe go into that area, which is, what do you actually need to build to make that magic happen, if you like? What needs to be in place? Let's do this as, let's say, like a case study. Let's say we're a SaaS platform.
Okay.
And, we are B2B. So we're selling to small businesses. We're doing $1 million in revenue. And, we have a high lifetime value with our customers. So, maybe they sign up for 1,000, but, the potential lifetime value of these clients is 10x that. But not everybody gets to that kind of level. Maybe a lot of them are sort of stuck at 1,000. So that's my business. It may be some form of SaaS service to small businesses. Let's understand, what do I need in place? Do I just need to kind of train my people up and say, look, okay, I'm going to train you how to handle calls, or how to send emails, templates, that sort of thing? What needs to happen if you're heading this up in this business, or you're the CEO, for example? Where do you start with this process? If the goal of this process, Ed, is how do I get those people from 1,000 to a multiple of that?
Yeah, great. Well, the best thing that you can do is actually look at the one individual customer. Let's take it down to, okay, one person has joined, and this isn't going to be different for every individual, but you're looking for, okay, who's that ideal person for your product, for that SaaS platform, if we go with that case study. So it's looking at what is the problem that they have, why have they joined the platform, why have they signed up, what has all your marketing and sales been leading to for this person. So anybody who's got a marketing team, anyone who's got a sales team knows that they are solving a problem for a customer. And then essentially it's looking, okay, at we've now made that person purchase, and then essentially how do we help them achieve their goal of solving this problem. And for some people, it's really a case of, it's, like for a SaaS platform, for example, it could be like Xero, where you've got ongoing financial, I'm using this platform so that I can invoice on time, that I can keep my bookkeeping really clean. And so, so I'm using that to continually solve that problem. And if I didn't have that, those are the problems I would have. So it's a way of actually being able to create that experience, and you're creating your product to address those problems, but also make it really, really easy, make it really simple, making it frictionless. So essentially, you're helping that customer solve the problem. And if for a SaaS business, if somebody's struggling to get that investment, and maybe you can look at, okay, well, what are they doing wrong, with are they using this platform in the wrong way? We've all got with SaaS businesses, the data is all there to be able to see and look at ways of how can you actually help that person solve the problem if they're not going through the right things, if they haven't quite understood how this works, or if they haven't quite understood the platform. And that could be ways of, just getting one of your team to give the customer a call and be like, hey, you've got 30 minutes with me. How can I help you get the most out of your platform? How can I, or it could be, training sessions. It could be all kinds of different things, but it's essentially looking at how can you help the customer solve their problem? And the better that you can solve the problem, and the faster that you can do it, and the less friction there is, the better. But also that connectiveness with the customer. How, are they just like we said, a digit within your CRM, or are they somebody that you want to build a relationship with? Let's take a SaaS platform of a financial SaaS platform, for example. It's just like, we're helping them solve their invoicing and their accounting and their bookkeeping. But what are some of the other things that they also are going through as a business owner? What are some of these other things? Are they, things that could be completely unrelated to what you do, that what you provide, that you can still add value to in other ways? And essentially, as the business grows, they're going to need more things. As the business does particular things, they're going to need new features. So it's continually innovating and making sure that you're actually giving a great experience for that person, who then essentially is locked in, loves your product or service, and then essentially is, really, then the more value you can give to that person, the more that they're going to be able to say, whenever there's another business owner who's struggling with their financial bookkeeping and needs, like, hey, this is the platform that I've been using. This is what I've been using to help solve X, Y, and Z.
Would that then be a program internally, or would we? I'm thinking from the CEO's perspective, would we then, for example, train our people, or do I need a dashboard to identify this? Because doing it ad hoc is fine, but you need to have a process, don't you? You need to have the data that says, right, of these 100 customers, these 7 here need attention now. Let's give them attention before they come to us with problems, right? Because of these data points, which are kind of preempting, if you like, potential problems, or they're like vital signs of the customer, aren't they? And maybe this customer hasn't used the platform for 3 months, whatever it may be. Where does all that come in, like as if I'm leading this project internally, where do I stick this thing? Is it into our CRM system? Do we have to build something else? That may be a stopping point for me, trying to work out where it fits in.
Yeah, great. Well, like in terms of like a SaaS platform, being able to sync that up to something like Segment and then pushing that into your HubSpot or Salesforce CRM, that's something that I do a lot with my clients. Is we're a HubSpot partner here, so we're always looking to essentially put whatever post-purchase data is being used from a particular platform into HubSpot, so that, like you said, we can analyze, okay, well, this particular group of customers we're anticipating that they're going to drop off and stop paying for this subscription because they're not using it. So what can we do to actually re-engage them? What can we do to actually give them value? Maybe it is a phone call, maybe it is and it's understanding more about their needs to essentially then bring them back on and deliver them a great service. So a lot of it is being able to be preemptive, understanding the customer journey, understanding the pain points, understanding the emotions that a customer has after they've made a purchase, all the way through to, okay, what does actually solving their problem look like? At what point do they feel that they've got control of this problem that your sales team has spent so much time investing in, to the point where they can really have that problem solved? Their life looks different, and essentially then it's a way of what can you do to then perhaps incentivize with regards to sharing and referring that business.
Yeah, something we talked about before. We were chatting around something I learned about buyer's remorse. When people buy, there's probably some psychology behind it as well. They're like, oh dear, was that the right decision? Yeah. And that sort of onboarding period post-sale, probably a lot is set in that period, isn't it? I mean, there must be there've been some interesting research. There's like a sweet spot. There's like a period of 2 weeks or whatever it may be, like straight after the sale, where, these things need to be done. And if they're not done, it makes it quite hard to get things back on track. Not impossible, but harder. You've set expectations. If you're then contacting me 8 months later or a month before renewal, it's like, why do you want to speak to me now? Like, where were you for the last 8 months? There must be some sort of interesting window. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that, if it actually exists, like from your experience.
Huge. So buyer's remorse is one of those things. Every purchase anyone has ever made has some level of buyer's remorse, whether we notice it consciously or subconsciously, there is some level there. And usually the bigger the pain point, so the more pressing the need and potentially the higher the cost, that's going to trigger more of a conscious buyer's remorse. Will this help me? So if you are buying let's say a Sentinel leather jacket, which is $4,000, and you're buying it from somebody on eBay, you don't know until that arrives if this is going to be the real deal. So there's that, oh gosh, like, what am I doing? Is this the right call? And so with businesses, it's that case of, we might, through the sales process, there's what we want to do is eliminate the risk, take away the risk. So that's why e-commerce have things like free returns. If you got a 30-day return period, you're getting this completely risk-free. Free trials, you're able to trial this out. And so we've got a lot of sales incentives to eliminate the risk. And that really mitigates the buyer's remorse, so that you're able to start dealing with a company, but your investment isn't gone within those first 30 days that you're not happy with it. But what often we feel like is, especially in the B2B space, where we've gone through the marketing funnel, we've been dealing with a sales rep, and then finally we sign a contract, and then this sales rep that I've been dealing with has, he's taken their commission and on to the next sale, and then I'm kind of in no man's land. I'm a little bit lost, and then I'm talking with the next person, there's clearly not been a discussion of any value between the two of them. So I'm starting to have to repeat myself. So buyer's remorse can really look at like, oh gosh, have I made a really bad decision here? And you can definitely win it back for sure. Like if so, I think what we, sometimes we think of buyer's remorse of that, oh, if that first impression is gone, it's all over. And it's like, it's not, but you may as well make that first impression fantastic. And then they're all in and they're happier to invest more, much quicker. And so, so that's really the element of buyer's remorse. When I was actually researching buyer's remorse of, how different ways companies can help with that, it's funny because you find actually a lot of it is put onto the onto ourselves as the purchaser. It's just like, how do you eliminate buyer's remorse? It's like, do your research before you buy. Don't buy above what you can't afford, and all these things, rather than actually, hey, if whenever somebody makes a purchase, send them a testimonial and a case study of somebody who had the exact same problem. And essentially, as soon as they've, the money's left their account, they're also saying, okay, other people have gone through this and come out on the other end. Great. I hope I'm one of them. And I believe I'm one of them, and starting to put that in. So, so buyer's remorse is something that's very real, and companies, there's a lot that we can do to mitigate it and create a better experience for our customers.
To have a process, I think that's the main thing, isn't it? That because doing that at scale is hard. It's easy to do, you just said 1, 2, 3, maybe you knew your clients very personally, but at scale, it starts to become harder, doesn't it? Because they need, okay, this person signed up, need to send them this email, automate it potentially. Or, even that onboarding call within 3 days, having a process, whatever it may be, but just kind of taking all the decision making out of your head, because I think when it becomes like a workflow, then it's smooth, right?
Exactly, and something we do with all of our customers is we workshop this. We look at, okay, well, as soon as somebody makes a purchase with you, what are the emotions that they have? Are they really excited, or are they like, gosh, I really hope this pays off? Anyone who has spent any money on paid ads or marketing, that first time you do it, you're like, gosh, I hope this isn't, it would have been faster just to flush it down the toilet, and sometimes that's the emotions that we have. And so it's understanding what are your customers' emotions at that first part. And like you said, it's, is it an automatic email? Is it, okay, somebody's bought something, let's, take a group photo and send it to them, and, give them a big congratulations with an email that has this, flashy emoji to really not incentivize, to, trigger this really positive emotion. It really is looking at, okay, what are the different stages that our customers are about to go through, and what are the emotions, what are their needs, and what are the emotions that they're feeling at that time, and if we know their emotions, how can we combat that? How can we change those, put those frowns upside down, as they used to say.
Yeah. And it's not just the negative, is it? It's sort of, somehow highlighting the positive emotions as well. Like you say, just creating that positive experience in the early days. People are naturally suspicious of anything, and, for good reason. There's a lot of competition. We also live in a world now where you aren't locked in to arrangements like you used to be in sort of the freewheeling B2B space. Very rarely are you locked into 12-month deals like with your phone bill, or maybe with a rental contract. You can get out of things like month in, month out. So that creates the reality now that people are always asking questions, and they always have these options to get out. So that places the emphasis on us as the providers to work extra hard, and not to assume that, they signed up, that's great, next customer, because
exactly
that one customer may be out next month because you didn't talk to them, or your sales rep left them standing dry, and then the service rep didn't have any notes, or all those kind of things, which are small touches, right? But that's where the big picture is made, isn't it? In the small touches, and good process, good understanding, good empathy, good data, good workflows, all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously where you come in and help companies put in a structure to that. And it's not rocket science, is it? It's not like, okay, you have to invest in this platform now. If you want to improve customer lifetime value, you have to spend all this money on this new tech platform. There are tools out there. I mean, HubSpot,
100%.
great example, not expensive, Salesforce, etc. So it's nothing new, is it?
No, and even, and it can really be something of what small little thing can you do? So it could be, with some of my clients, particularly where, they do use HubSpot, and we do this customer journey, and then we implement different workflows out to, different emails and different, different systems, like send things out to customers and prompts to call customers at certain points. But, if you're looking to just get started, it's just like, okay, well, when somebody makes a purchase, how can you make that email just so about them, and understanding, okay, if I was to purchase my own product, what would I want to know? Or it's at some point during, if it's a longer cycle between somebody having the problem to achieving their goal, what's something that you can send them at maybe like the halfway point, maybe a month in, that really just will lift their spirits. And it can be something, I sometimes send my clients Uber Eats vouchers, just if I know that they've had a big week, just little things like that, to rebuild emotion, to just say, hey, we're working on this, it's a process, and we're here for you. And so looking at everything that you do with a customer, and how can we make it more about the customer rather than help more about our own internal processes.
Excellent. Ed Frame, everybody, from Exemplify.
Thank you.
There's a lot of content out there today. I know you've got the workshops and the online content as well. Where's the best jumping off point to start with you if I want to learn more about this?
Great. So I actually have a 3-step video on my website. So if you go to my website, you'll see in the resources, there's a 7 steps to customer longevity. 3 videos, they're about 5-6 minutes each. And that basically will take you through a 7-step guide to how you can turn your brand new customers into referral advocates.
Excellent. What a good place to start. Exemplify.com.au. We'll put all the details in the show notes. And I'm sure also if you need help getting a little one to sleep as well, Ed will be happy to refer on to you. We can also find you on LinkedIn, Ed Frame, Exemplify. So please ping Ed if you've heard this podcast and you would like to chat some more. I guess people are going to have a lot of questions, aren't they, about this, because it's like, where do I start? What do I do here? How do I do this? It's not just a simple binary decision to do this thing, because it can touch many different aspects of the business, isn't it? Like, how do you maximize existing customer lifetime value? How do you improve customer experience? How do you improve retention? It can touch many, many different departments as well. So thanks a lot today, Ed. Really insightful, really interesting, thought-provoking as well for anybody out there who is interested in the whole space of customer lifetime value, customer advocacy, fans, customer experience, and any of the above as well. So Ed, thanks a lot today.
Thank you so much.